IG, Lebua, Panorama, SRSS, and Tozia. So without you guys, this would not have been possible, and I'm really grateful. So today, I'm going to talk about change. And rather than me being afraid, I want to welcome all of you to change. So I think it's important. People are usually afraid of change, and I'm someone who says that I think change is important as time goes on. And someone said that the world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. It will be the fast beating the slow. And if you think about it, with technology and everything else that is going on around us, change is happening faster than we can imagine. Today, within the hotels have always been slow at adapting. And I think hotels are struggling in many ways today because we're not changing fast enough, maybe with our customers, certainly not with the millennial customers. So I think it's important that we need to understand that things are changing. So hotel rooms 20 years ago used to be very drab, uninteresting. They were impersonalized. They were too standardized. And I remember, or maybe many of you remember, it was all about cookie cutters. And let's churn the same thing out, easier to build, cheaper to build. But they've become a little, that's what was happening. And things are changing once again. So today's hotel rooms are certainly much more innovative. They're certainly technology-led. There's a lot of design that has gone into it. And there's a lot of personalized experience that is coming back. And if you look at the newer brands, and I'm going to talk about some of them today, and as you'll see in my presentation, the photograph at the bottom is a Yotel, which is just opened in Singapore, full of technology, 14 square meter rooms, but very innovative in its approach. You have rooms that are becoming far more creative. It's not, that certainly the room which looks like in the treetops is certainly not a cookie cutter room. It's different. So the experiences are changing. The customers want that change. Hotel lobbies are evolving, right? Today, if you go into a Citizen M or a Penta hotel or a new brand which is called the Next Story coming up, or the Andaz, the lobbies are very, very different. They're a lot more personalized. Even last night's dinner at the Art Hotel, it was a very different lobby from a traditional lobby that you will see. So things are changing on that front as well. F&B is changing in a very big way, right? You have celebrity tie-ups taking place. It's no longer just Chinese or an Indian or Indonesian or but Italian cuisine. It's about fusion food which is coming in. You also have a lot of high street brands that are making their way inside of hotels. Technology is certainly beginning to play a big role in F&B, whether it is the disruptive players who are doing online home delivery model, or is it the tie-ups that are taking place, which you become part of discounted clubs, which gives you access to a booking in a restaurant, and you can get a free drink or a free dinner or a certain amount of discount. The on-the-go concept, if you look at the traditional brands, even Marriott and Hyatt, and some of the Accor hotels, they have what is called on-the-go concept. So in the lobby, you'll have a little area where you put food and beverage, where you can just pick up and take it up to your room and maybe heat it. So there's a lot of things happening. And I'm not too sure if the brands, or certainly the independent brands, are being also able to adapt fast enough. Hotel restaurants in the past, again, we pulled out a few photographs from the past. And if you look at hotel restaurants today, they're clearly evolving. That's the Rock from Anaya from in Bali. Very unusual concept. Just the sense of arrival is so different, right? It's something unique, and if you haven't done it when you've gone to Bali, then you certainly have missed out. So restaurants are clearly evolving, right? These are some other restaurants, these are, I think, all in Jakarta and Bali. Again, there's a lot more color in the restaurants. There are a lot more design-led stuff in the restaurant. Of course, the food has to be good. Of course, the menu has to be curated. So there's a lot of different things happening. As I said, even the food that is getting offered is very, very different, very colorful, very fusion. People are looking at mixing up different types of cuisines and so forth. So there's certainly been a huge change in the way things were 20 years ago and the way they are today. Events in hotels are becoming very imaginative, right? It's no longer about a traditional ballroom and a meeting space. It's about how you engage with the customer. So I love, for example, what Hyatt has done with the Andaz in Delhi or even in Singapore. Those are the two hotels, Andazes, that I've seen. It's practically a drawing room set up for the breakout rooms. The photograph on the top left corner, that's their breakout rooms. That's the entry. So you have these small meeting rooms in a drawing room kind of a setup. And then when you have the breakouts, you come and sit out there. It looks nothing like a typical traditional meeting room. But that's what I think customers are looking for. Everyone's looking for something different. And I'm not too sure if brands are doing enough about it. Open kitchens, breakaway options, they're all part of the same thing. So I think it's important that those were individual hotels, but if you look at how change has happened, even the overall DNA of hotel companies is transforming, right? So in the old days, you had a very traditional setup. You had the hotel. You had to deal with the owner. Maybe if the owner, sometime the owner would be sitting and breathing down your head because they would be staying at the hotel itself. And then you had the operator. And then the only one person you had to be worried about was the customer. Today, it's different, right? Today, hotel management companies have evolved. You've got the owner. You've got now a franchise company occasionally. You may have an asset manager. And then you may have a separate company for operations. So you're dealing with 4 or 5 groups of people rather than just the 2 to 3. And then on the outside world, you have the OTA, you have the customer. If you are an institutional-owned hotel company, you also have shareholders. So there's a lot more that needs to be juggled. So life has become a lot more complicated. For those of you in this room, I think many of us think about the days 20 years ago when we didn't have to look at our phones, when we didn't have to worry about when you left office at 6:30, that we had to respond to someone. Life was very, very different than what it is today. So let's look at what's happened in the change from a company's point of view. So the largest hotel company in 2007 was IHG, followed by Wyndham. Today, that has changed. And you have Marriott, which has come in at number 1, followed by Hilton. And then IHG and Wyndham have grown substantially, but have not, grown as big as the other two. And look at it this way. You've also got China, and how big China, what an important role China is beginning to play. So in the last 10 years alone, you've got 3 companies from China that have made it to this list, which is over 1 million rooms. So again, that's the change. And the question we need to ask is, are we doing enough for the Chinese travelers that are beginning to travel? If you look at the companies by market cap, right, Marriott in 2008, 10 years ago, was only 9 billion. Today, it's grown 5 times. I think that's great, right? I mean, if I could tell you that you can grow 5 times, which is, you're doubling every year, that would be a great thing that for anyone to have achieved. So Marriott has certainly done a great job. And again, if you look at it from a market cap perspective, there are 2 companies out there that are doing extremely well from China. One is a multi-brand hotel management company in China, and the other one is an investment company. So again, we need to watch out as to what's happening in the hotel space as far as these companies go. The next slide is even more interesting. You think that the hotel companies are your only competition, then let me tell you, you're wrong. The competition is not going to be the Marriott and the Hyatt and the Starwood is gone, or the Accor and so forth. The competition is going to come from related companies. So look at where Marriott is. And if we think Marriott is a big company in terms of market cap, well, just look at Booking.com and where they are, or Airbnb for that matter, right? Airbnb is breathing down Marriott's back, and they're not even 8 to 10 years old, if I'm correct. I think they're 10 years old, if I'm correct. And then you have ClearTrip, you have Expedia, you have TripAdvisor, you have MakeMyTrip. These 6 companies are new companies, new age companies, and don't be surprised if these are the companies that are either one day going to knock on the doors of the brand and start buying them out, or certainly they're your competition. Because if you're not being able to hold on to the business, they're going to take some of that business away from you. And they're already doing it in some ways in terms of the percentage. I've spoken to a lot of owners where we have done management contract negotiations, and owners will spend a lot of time negotiating on a contract, negotiating the term, the fees they pay, and so forth. No one ever negotiates or asks the brand as to what are you paying to OTAs. So you will negotiate for that 3 to 4% of your base management fee and incentive fee, but you will not ever get into the area of what are you paying. Are you paying 18%? Are you paying 15%? In some cases, the people are paying 25 to 30%. So I think those are issues that need to be discussed. Basically, I believe we are living in the future of 2008. So if I had been here doing a presentation in the future, I'm sure I would not have predicted half the things that we are seeing currently today. So as leaders, we must realize that change is going to happen, and it's a necessity. And hotels and hoteliers must embrace that change to stay relevant. And at a personal level, I'm going to spend a few minutes. We used to be HVS, at least in India. We decided that it was time to change and become Hotelivate, and we rebranded. We brought up with new products and different things that we wanted to do. And the only way to change was to completely move out of what we were doing and do things very differently. So today we have a team of senior people who have worked together for 95 years. We think asset management is going to be huge. We ourselves have seen that as being our fastest growing business in South Asia. We have executive search. We'll have offices in we've got offices already in Dubai, Bombay, Delhi. We will have offices in the US and other parts of Asia shortly. Investment advisory, professional skills development, project execution, revenue management. I think revenue management in a market like Indonesia is going to be huge, particularly with so many unbranded hotels, and I see that performance is a big issue. And then, of course, a strategic advisory business. Asset management, very quickly, means different things to different people. But for us, it's really about helping a hotel company improve its bottom line. In the past, like I said, you had the general manager, you had to deal with the corporate office, you dealt with the team management, and then you dealt with guest management, right? And life of the general manager was much simpler. Today, with operators having all these different, companies to deal with and a lot more franchises to deal with, you have a little bit more complexities in the life of a GM, right? You have to deal with people like us, external consultants. You have the social media team. You have a PR. You have a marketing team. You're trying to self-train yourself. You've got to deal with the finance department, which is never happy with what's happening at a hotel traditionally. And then you've got technology and sales. So while things have changed, there's a lot of help that is typically required. And that's the question, who will help with these? While you're so busy running the operations, who's going to help you with strategy? Who's going to help you with budgeting? Who's going to help you with dealing with the owner, CapEx, and so forth? And that's where we believe we typically would come in, right, as an asset manager. Help you with the strategy, help you with the budgeting, an owner, help you with improving the process at a hotel and CapEx. And guess what? From a general manager's point of view, that comes for free because the GM is not traditionally paying for it. It's either the owner paying for it, and a good asset manager should actually be paying for themselves. If that asset manager's fee should be coming out of the improvement that that asset manager is bringing at the hotel, not as just a regular fee. So that's what we do in asset management. And very quickly, in revenue management, we provide strategic operational support through a series of activities that take place at a hotel. And it's all about e-distribution and how to implement the price optimization, or looking at the external environment, how you're structured vis-a-vis the GDSs, how is your marketing campaign, or how are you dealing with the competitive analysis. So that's something that we're beginning to do. We are assisting with not just a lot of analytics, but also with contract negotiations and how you're structured, how you're doing your deployment of inventory and so forth. So the problem is that these are complex issues, and as a hotel owner, getting the right revenue manager becomes a challenge. A good revenue manager is costly. They would come and work with you for a few years, and then you'll realize that one revenue manager who's qualified to run one hotel is just too easy a job for that individual. So they will get poached by the Marriotts and the Hyatts and the big companies. And therefore, it's perhaps important to look at an option where you have revenue management rather than ignore it, than to try and do it yourself. Finally, we support all these functions as revenue management, and I think that's something which we look forward to doing a lot more in Indonesia. Thank you.